Every once in a while, the gaming news cycle will make gamers ask,
why are we still here? Just to suffer?
Titanfall, man. Titanfall. It cannot catch a break. 2 came out to critical acclaim, but it was kind of doomed to die because of the timing in which it was launched. It was sandwiched right between frickin' Battlefield and Call of Duty, and so it kind of got lost. And ever since we've wanted a sequel, properly made, properly released. The potential of Titanfall is immense. And while Respawn did launch Apex Legends and it's been widely successful, it still doesn't change the fact that people are clamoring for a campaign experience in the world of Titanfall and that multiplayer involving mechs. And it just feels like we're never going to get that. Now, back in February of 2023, we heard about the cancellation of a Titanfall project. This is an article from Jason Schreier. The headline reads, Electronic Arts cancels secret Apex Legends game in development. Scrolling further down, EA canceled the game based on the popular Apex Legends and Titanfall franchises, according to 3 people familiar with the matter. And at the time, we only had very vague details about this project, that it was codenamed TFL, or Titanfall Legends, was a single-player game set in the universe shared by the Apex Legends and Titanfall games. It was directed by veteran designer Mohamed Alavi until he left the company in early 2022. Although the game hadn't been advertised, EA had hinted at it several times. Fans have been clamoring for a new single-player entry in the critically acclaimed Titanfall series for several years. A planned 3rd game morphed into Apex Legends. Ever since this article came out, fans have been wondering just what the hell happened. What could have possibly drove them to cancel a Titanfall 3? Well, this was all further elaborated on by none other than veteran designer Mohamed Alavi, who was directing the project until he left the company in 2022. And here's the crazy part. As it turns out, it wasn't EA's executive decision to cancel Titanfall 3 and transition into the development of Apex Legends. That was actually Respawn's decision. And what makes all this especially sting is that Titanfall 3 was actually in development for quite some time before its cancellation. It was in development for 10 months before being canceled, ex-developer claims. This is a story from June 13th, 2023. And you can see right here that this story has gone viral. Already 11 million views, this one tweet alone, 11.6 thousand likes. This is a testament to how beloved Titanfall is, just how much people are craving for a sequel with a proper campaign and multiplayer experience. That beautiful gameplay that combined boots on the ground and also mechs in this seamless experience that was just so freaking epic. You can see how beloved Titanfall is by not only the viewership here, but by the responses where people are just completely mourning the news that Titanfall 3 could have been a possibility before its cancellation. And just the feeling that it feels like it's never going to happen, even though no series right now feels more deserving of a sequel than Titanfall, given what it accomplished, given the potential that it has with modern technology, with modern graphics. I mean, just imagine what Titanfall 3 could look like in 2023 or in this generation of consoles. So, yeah, the memes and the outpouring of sadness is palpable. So what exactly happened behind the scenes? Well, this was all detailed by Mohamed Alavi, a former game designer for Titanfall, when he engaged with an interview with this outlet called the Burns Network. And this right here is the whole excerpt, the whole shebang on what he said about Titanfall 3's development and why 3 was canceled, why Apex Legends was favored. So here's what he had to say. Titanfall 2, came out, did what it did, and we're like, okay, we're going to make Titanfall 3, and we worked on Titanfall 3 for 10 months, right? In earnest, right? I mean, we had like new tech for it, we had multiple missions going, we had a first playable, which was like on par to be just as good, if not better, than whatever we had before, right? Yeah, just sprinkle that salt on the wound. He's basically saying the development of this game was shaping up pretty well. But he continued, I'll make this clear, incrementally better, it wasn't revolutionary. And that's the kicker, right? And we're like feeling pretty decent about it, but not the same feeling as Titanfall 2, where we were making something revolutionary, you know what I mean? And then the multiplayer team was having a hell of a time trying to fix the multiplayer because a lot of people love the multiplayer. People love Titanfall 2 multiplayer, but people who love Titanfall 2 multiplayer is a very small number of people, which I'd say in large part has to do with the way EA doomed Titanfall 2 by launching it sandwiched smack between the two biggest first-person shooter IPs in gaming history, Battlefield and Call of Duty. I think these numbers could have been significantly bigger had EA not launched Titanfall 2 during such a packed and busy month. But at the same time, Mohammed makes the case that while Titanfall 2 is a great game and it's a fun experience, it's just not as accessible. There's just too much going on. He says that most people play Titanfall 2 multiplayer and think it's really good, but it's just too much. It's cranked up to 11 and they burn out a bit fast. And they're like, that was a great multiplayer. That's not something I continually play for like a year or two, right? So we're like trying to fix that. We're trying to fix that from Titanfall 1 to Titanfall 2, trying to fix it from 2 to 3. The multiplayer team was like just dying. So I guess we're trying to figure out how to make Titanfall just feel more accessible, less just, I don't know, like there was just too much happening at once. Like these multiplayer matches can be pretty intense. When you think about just how much is happening in terms of mobility options and the mechs coming into play and the dichotomy that causes and the strategic implications of all of that, there's definitely a lot happening in these multiplayer matches compared to your typical multiplayer experiences, your typical shooters. But I feel like that's part of the charm, but I guess, I don't know if there's a good balance to find between the Titanfall gameplay that people love that is just so intense and there is a lot going on, but that's what makes it so adrenaline infused and so exciting, but also trying to find a way to dial things down where they need to be so that more people can play these games without feeling like there's just too much happening on screen. I don't know, for me, Titanfall never felt like too much. But then again, compared to something like Call of Duty, there are more layers. So for mass audiences beyond just your hardcore players, maybe it is not as appealing. And so them trying to dial that apparently proved to be a challenge. But then, during the development of Titanfall 3, PUBG came out, says Mohammed, and I don't know if you remember Alex Rojcevic. Yeah, I don't know how to say that, but Alex was starting to play PUBG, and then Jeff started playing PUBG, and then they made a Battle Royale map with, Titanfall 3 classes, and there is essentially the origin story of Apex Legends. That's where they got the light bulb to be like, why don't we make a Battle Royale? It was actually just Respawn trend chasing, but also seeing the potential in taking the classes that they built for Titanfall 3 and making a genuinely fun and innovative Battle Royale. And to Apex Legends' credit, it's doing really well because it got in early enough before the market got oversaturated, and they put their own unique spin on it. And so Apex Legends it really does feel like they didn't just copy and paste. It feels like they took a genre and they ran with it and did their own thing with it. And it succeeded really well. It's still played by, millions and millions of people. It's raking in a lot of money. And, in terms of the business side of things, it was the right call. Like, Respawn has succeeded greatly as a studio, and, it's raked in a lot of money for EA. And so EA is, I think, more willing to give a studio like Respawn carte blanche and trust because they've had such a consistent track record. And now with the Star Wars Jedi series of releases, the single-player Star Wars games, those have been doing really well critically and commercially. And so, look, I'm not necessarily saying it was the worst decision or even the wrong one. It's just a tragic decision given how much people desire a Titanfall 3, and hopefully it's something that's still somewhere down the pipeline. Hopefully it's not something that they're casting aside, especially with modern technology, to be able to take Titanfall gameplay and visuals to a whole new level. Mohammed then continues that at the time, I had just literally become the narrative lead designer on Titanfall 3. I had just pitched the story, the whole game that me and Manny had come up with, made this big presentation, and then we went off a break and went back from break, and we talked about it, and we were like, yeah, we need to pivot, and we need to make this game Apex Legends. So once again, it wasn't EA executives who stepped in. We're like, no Titanfall 3 for you, no Titanfall 3 for gamers. It was Respawn who just looked at their current situation. They were developing Titanfall 3, and they were going, this is just like, it's better than Titanfall 2, but it's not this huge leap. So instead of making an iteration of something that didn't quite succeed financially, they decided, let's try to make something new and different and try to follow this trend while putting our unique spin on it and see if we can make a successful game out of that. And to Respawn's credit, they did make a very successful product. But we still need Titanfall 3. We still want that. Hopefully the success of Apex Legends will give them more breathing room to make projects like Titanfall 3 and allow them to have just more time, less pressure, just more freedom, because they've kind of set themselves with Apex Legends. They've certainly fallen in EA's good graces, and as a studio and with how much money they're making from Apex Legends, I feel like they've stabilized, and so maybe that'll allow them to really make Titanfall 3 a big leap from Titanfall 2 is the hope, and maybe that will finally inspire them to give us what so many people desire. But yeah, Mohammed further extrapolates on why Titanfall 3 just didn't feel right at the time. We literally canceled Titanfall 3 ourselves because we're like, we can make this game and it's going to be Titanfall 2 plus a little better, or we can make this thing Apex Legends, which is clearly amazing. And don't get me wrong, I will always miss having another Titanfall, you know what I mean? I love that game. Titanfall 2, like I said, is my most crowning achievement. But it was the right call, Mohammed believes. He concludes by saying, that is a crazy cut. Such a crazy cut that EA didn't even know about it for another 6 months. Which further highlights that EA executives had nothing to do with the cancellation of Titanfall 3. They didn't even know about it until 6 months after Respawn decided we're not doing Titanfall 3. So, you know, Respawn led EA to huge financial success just off of their own decision to be like, let's try something different this time. Let's try a battle royale and let's see if we can bring something unique to it. Fascinating new revelation right there. EA wasn't trying to keep Respawn on a leash. They were saying, hey, if you want to make Titanfall 3, make Titanfall 3. It was Respawn who said, maybe not. What about this other thing that, you know, we came up with after PUBG inspired this, and it's kind of really fun. Why not lean in this direction? And, you know, a lot of people enjoy Apex Legends, to be fair, but we want Titanfall. Isn't that crazy? The timing of PUBG's release is essentially what killed Titanfall because it inspired Apex Legends. It inspired this pivot. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that, obviously, but as long as Titanfall 3 is still a possibility sometime in the future, you know, I say let them take as much time as they need to really make a version of a Titanfall sequel that will allow the IP to really take a big leap. And with Apex Legends being so successful, expanding on the lore, and with a lot of learnings, no doubt, coming from Apex Legends, maybe this will allow Titanfall 3 to be that much better when it one day launches compared to what it would have been just sort of an iteration of 2 had it launched, you know, when it was meant to launch before Apex Legends. So I don't know. Maybe good things will come out of this in the end, but for now, fans are mourning about what could have been and what didn't end up happening, and are still keeping their fingers crossed that there is hope yet for the Titanfall series specifically. Hope can be dangerous when it comes to the Titanfall series, but I feel like the fact that any breadcrumbs surrounding Titanfall's development or a potential Titanfall 3 can go this viral might give Respawn and EA the inspiration to be like, you know what, clearly, you know, people want this. And if we can market it right, release it at the right time, and make the big next steps that the series needs to take from a gameplay and visual perspective to really stand out, maybe it can be a successful product. Maybe it'll get them in that mindset, because I do think Titanfall 3 can be extremely successful if they get it right. I mean, mechs with frickin' boots on the ground, futuristic shooter, like, what is there not to love about that, right? Or at least that's one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on these latest revelations surrounding this canceled Titanfall 3 project, and whether you think there's hope for an eventual Titanfall 3 release. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.